Greetings, everyone. Welcome to Love Story, and thank you for joining us for our special series called Love Before the Fall. Joining me tonight is Kesley, Janie, and her amazing husband, Russell, and Duane, who most of you might know from my other podcast, Come Let Us Reason Together. And so I just want to welcome our special, their family, really, but we could say friends, whatever, but family. And I'm really excited about tonight. And if you haven't stumbled upon any of these videos yet, my name is Yandea. I just realized I didn't introduce myself. My name is Yandea. And, like I said, this is a Love Story podcast. So we're going to jump right into it today because it is Father's Day. And Janie and I were just mentioning the fact that, we know people may be busy doing their thing, but our episode, which is called The Return of the Divine Masculine, happens to fall right on Father's Day. So we don't believe in coincidences, right? We don't believe in coincidences over here. So I know that this is a great alignment, and I'm really excited to just jump right in, and just talk about this return of the divine masculine. Before we start, I'm going to take a deep breath because I'm coming from a very exciting day, a Father's Day event with my husband and family. And so I'm moving from one thing to the next, and I want to be super present. So just in case there are other people out there who are experiencing what I'm experiencing, which is like trying to hop onto this live while, the amazing fun day with family and dad, let's just take a deep breath and just center ourselves in to this space, being present and having our ears open, not just to hear, the sound of the words, but let's hear the meaning of the words. Let's listen to deeper than what we're hearing with our ears and the heart, the meaning behind what we're saying and what we're trying to communicate. I want to just welcome anyone who wants to leave comments or ask questions or, share their opinion about anything that we're talking about on the podcast today, to do so in the chat. Every now and then I'll be looking over to, to read the chat so I could share your questions or comments. And so that being said, thank you for watching, and let's jump in. The return of the divine masculine. I'm going to pose a question. Why is the masculine having to return? Mm-hmm. If we're saying the return of the divine masculine, why did he leave? Before we could talk about him returning, where did he go? Why did he leave? I want us to kind of start there. And I know it's a deep start, but I feel it's like, let's just get down to the root of it. And has he left? Maybe you don't think that he's left. Maybe you don't think that he's returning because he's never gone. That could be a possibility too. So let's hear from the people who are here with us today. Guys, do you think that there was a time, or that there is a time, that you could think of where you could say the masculine was there, but then the masculine left, or was suppressed, or was, hushed, hidden, and now is returning? Do you agree with that? Do you think, does that fit into your experience? I want to start I want to give Duane and Russell a chance to answer, because the three of us are always talking. So let's let them start, and then, so I don't know whichever one of you would like to answer that question first, like, feel free.
Duane, you want to do it, or you want me to do
it? Sure, I'll go ahead. So, I see this in many different levels, I guess. So in general, if we're talking about even on the spiritual or energetic level, I think the issue has been an imbalance. And because there's been an imbalance, and in the imbalance, there's also been unhealthy expressions of masculine energy and unhealthy expressions of feminine energy, which further create distortion and, make the balance go either. So the return I'm seeing is a return of balance, because there was a time where it was a male dominated world. Then there's been a time where it was a female dominated world. Now, like, the feminine voice lately has been rising on a spiritual level. And then now that masculine, that divine masculine is also rising, at the same time. And so it's bringing back the balance that was lost. But that's on that level. If you look at it on a historical level, a family level, even, you can see where where the homes have been divided, and you can track that back. That can go way back hundreds of years but especially within the last couple of 100 years, a systematic setup to kind of divide the family, divide that unit that's like so crucial for, like, when you're a child being raised in an environment, having that balance of both masculine and feminine presence in your house that are strong in who they are, to raise a child in a balanced way. So there's many different levels that you can see where it's like the families have split, and it's usually been the single mothers that are raising the children while the fathers are nowhere to be seen. So you could see a return on that level as well. So there's so many different, and also single fathers raising children where the mothers are nowhere to be seen. You see that as well. So there's a lot of different levels where you can track this imbalance of the masculine and feminine principle. And I'm very happy that we're getting to a place where we're seeing that rise and that balance being restored. So that's what comes to my mind when I hear of he returns, the divine masculine returns.
Well said, well
It,
said.
good stuff. So he actually touched on several things that I was going to say. I don't think that the masculine ever disappeared. I think we're just seeing different forms of it, right? So you hear, the rise of the divine feminine, but when people refer to the masculine, you hear a lot about toxic masculinity, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
there is a big difference. So if you see most of the rulership around the world, especially here in America, you see that is toxic, right? So when I think of like the divine masculine, I'm thinking more of the revolutionary types, like the Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Nelson Mandela. Like these were masculine men who were willing to put their life on the line, and but they still had to have a level of compassion and empathy, right? Which
Yep.
is somewhat of a feminine trait, but without it, they're just like GI Joe characters running around on a seek and destroy mission.
100%.
That's what we see a lot of in the world today. And just like what's been going on the last several days, there's just all the bombing and all the terrorism, things of that nature. Like, where's the empathy? Like, there's still women and children involved, and the elderly. If these men want to fight, go go out in the field like they used to, run down the hill, just kill each other off and get the hell out the way and let us move on.
Mhm.
But the rise of the divine masculine today, like he was mentioning, is just coming back into Mayat. Like, you go look back in the ancient world, there was balance. You go back to ancient Egypt, you had the pharaoh with the queen next to him, and it was the queen mother who actually blessed him with the throne. He didn't get there on his own, so the woman actually had to put him on the throne. So without getting winded, because Duane blessed us gracefully. I would be repeating a lot of it, but what he said was true.
Yes, I love that. Now, do any of you, like Kesley, Janie, do you have anything to add to that?
I was gonna say, like the return, right? I think once the divine feminine remembers who she is and she's in her rightful place, she's in her rightful order, he is magnetized and
Right.
he returns versus he would be repelled by her because she's not in her rightful place. She's in her masculine energy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that return is almost like that magnetic return. Otherwise, he would be repelled. And so I see it that way as well. But until the feminine can really awaken and get back to her rightful place, it's hard for the masculine to return in his rightful place.
In his rightful place. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. What about you, Kez? Any thoughts?
Well, there's been a lot that's come up already from what Duane and Russell have shared that is reflective of what I wanted to share tonight around the astrology of where we are in the current time. In terms of where we are now, it's a very exciting time. It's a very promising time for both the refinement and the return of the divine masculine and the divine feminine. Even just this weekend specifically, as we've seen a lot of friction and turmoil and things going on in external events, that's also what's going on right now in this dance between masculine and feminine energy on the planet. Like we are literally in a turning point, in a choosing point, in a decision point for all of us in our relationships on how do we refine the masculine and the feminine within ourselves.
Yes.
And we are returning, we are refining. We did a lot of work earlier this year around the feminine and the masculine individually, and we're going to continue that work over the course, I mentioned, the next year with the divine feminine and Jupiter and Cancer, and we talked about the divine mother. Well, this time I really want to focus on the divine father energy. So we have Saturn, which is the great teacher, which is really the father of the zodiac, in the sign of Aries for the next 5 years, with the planet Neptune, which is the great healer energy. So in terms of like really, I think the divine feminine has, I agree with, I think Duane said this about this resurgence of the feminine that's been coming up. And, there's talk about masculine and toxic masculine and all these different things. Like this next 5 years is really when we're going to start to see so many men and I think divine masculine energies like really start to wake up. And of course, there's many of you who already have, but I think it's going to be more of a mass awakening for the divine masculine. And like really, because Saturn is a planet that requires us to commit and to focus our energy and to set boundaries and to really find purpose and meaning. And so I think that it will be a time of the masculine, like really committing to what is my bigger purpose in this relationship and in the world. Like, why am I here? So really a collective awakening that is led, I think, by the divine masculine. And for the feminine, I think it's going to be a time of us remembering how to trust that leadership. And not that we completely take a back seat, because of course we also have that same divine masculine awakening that's going to be occurring within us as we're remembering how to take action and how to commit and purpose and all these different things. But I think that it's going to be a really powerful time for that, like feeling that strong masculine leadership in our relationship. So I'm excited to see what comes of it. And another point that I think Duane had made that really struck a nerve for me in terms of the age of Aquarius. We were talking about last time, age of Aquarius versus age of Pisces. Another word that comes to mind when I think of age of Pisces is sacrifice. And on both sides, divine masculine, divine feminine. Like I remember hearing like grandparents or, elders speak about, how relationship requires sacrifice. And in this age of Aquarius, as we come out of the age of Pisces, it's going to be much more about the sacrifice and we have to give of ourselves to make this work, and more about the divine mirrors for each other that we've been talking about, the awakening that we're providing, the consciousness shift that we're providing for each other in relationship. But then also it's about so much more than just let's make it work. Let's do, make it work at all costs. It's more about what's our combined purpose. What are we co-creating in the world? That is relationships in the age of Aquarius, which is going to require both of us be whole. It's not about two incomplete parts coming together and seeking a piece from the other. It's about two whole humans coming together and co-creating, birthing something even more powerful than they could create individually. So yeah, I think everything astrologically tracks already with what we've been saying. So it is a really, I believe, a promising time for relationships and for us individually as well.
Wow. I felt like an excitement within myself as you were sharing that. I was just like, wow, I just love when everything around us and everything, the stars, everything just starts aligning and you could feel it, and we've been feeling it for a while, but it's like it's the heat is being turned up, good heat is being turned up, and I just love it. I know we went straight into that question, and now that we've kind of, lifted all that up, for those watching and also for us here, I would like to ask us then to kind of reflect within our own selves. Like when you hear that word masculine, let's even put aside divine for a second. Just if you close your eyes and you hear the word masculine, like what comes to mind? Like what do you feel? Like if you could be aware in your body or in your mind, your thoughts, like do you tense up? Right? Do you feel protected? Do you get a memory of something terrible? Do you feel safe? Do you, what do you feel when I say masculine, masculine, masculine? Is it good feelings that come up, or is it something negative, right? Like, what are we feeling? And especially for those who are watching, because sometimes we could jump into a topic like this and you could already feel it energetically. Because when we talked about the divine feminine, this wasn't here. When you go to talk about the divine masculine, you could literally, it is so heavy. There's so much, to it. So I really want us, and maybe whoever feels open to share, like when I said masculine, what did you feel anything? Did anything come to mind, or was it just like neutral? What came to mind, or what rose up within you?
Well, automatically, you're talking about me, because I associate with the masculine, right? So, and it comes with responsibility.
Nice.
I'm thinking provider, protector, producer.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and also to a collaborator with feminine.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the divine part comes into play.
Yes.
Because without it, it's like, I'm a competitor.
Absolutely.
So that's the big difference.
You said it. You said it. We have to pause. In those what's it called? Those spoken word shows. You're just gonna snap. Gotta pause for that and just snap, because wow, we have to get how profound. Like, I mean, we could end the show here, but we're not going to. But that was so profound. The masculine becomes divine. I'm gonna say it how I got it, right? The masculine becomes divine when it is in alignment with the feminine, in perfect alignment. And the exact same thing for the feminine. They are not without each other. And this is kind of like what we've been saying, when the feminine rises, it's like automatic, right? When the feminine rises, the masculine returns, because they belong together. They are side by side. Neither desires to be in a world without the other. Neither does, right? And so if a man is saying, I'm masculine, one of his great traits will be an honor and a love and a deep desire to protect the feminine, you know, it's just like, and when that feminine rises, she's looking for the masculine. It's so perfect. It's just so wonderful. So brother, you said that, you just hit it, and I was like, that my soul was like, ooh, he done did it now. He done did it. You know, it's sweet. It's music. You know what I mean? The spirit is like, yes, this is truth. This is absolute truth. Okay. Anybody else want to share their thing? Because I have another question. I just came today. I'm going to be the question person. Okay.
I was gonna add, we were actually talking about this earlier today about how masculine is also about authority, not abusive authority, but authority, just strength, just courage, just bravery. And those are the things as the feminine, we tap into our masculine to do as well, right? And we were just talking about how, because sometimes the masculine has been suppressed in the home, has not even been in the home, people don't even know what that looks like to have masculine authority and discipline and commitment in the home.
Yes.
Men
Yes.
and women, you know, men and women have been raised without fathers in the home. So we were talking about how people don't even, they just like feminine energy, some people don't even understand true masculine energy and what it looks like in healthy balance and harmony.
Yes.
Not toxic, but true
Yes.
balance and harmony.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's so important what you're saying, because actually we have a comment, and thank you very much for tuning in and for actually commenting. And she says, what comes up for me is aggression. Right?
See?
What comes up for me is aggression. And, you know, well, sometimes, you know, aggression is not always a negative thing. You know what I mean? It's depending on the situation. I think, and I'm going to say this, right? I feel like for me, I do think that in society, because we have like how the divine masculine feels outside of ourselves, right? Like, but then there's also, how does it feel within yourself? You having that balance, right? So if I think that, let's say, you know, growing up, if little, like, sometimes boys would try to pick on me, and I was never that girl to back down. I'm a fighter, right? I'm like a little fighter girl. But also I was a tomboy, believe it or not, when I was little, climbing trees and doing all this crazy stuff. You know, whatever the boys are doing, I could do it too. And so that was me as a little girl. And I remember people, even me, saying I was a tomboy. It wasn't because I dressed like a boy or did anything really in a boyish way. It's just that, well, I like certain things. I wanted a little car, you know. I also wanted a doll, but I want Transformers, you know, because I like cars. So even then, when people say like, oh, if you're running and playing these games instead of sitting down and picking flowers, you're a boy. Right? That's masculine, right? If she's choosing to play with cars instead of Barbies, that's masculine. Do you get what I'm saying? So even our idea of these labels, what's masculine and what's feminine, could be very skewed from a very young age, right? And so even when we think of that person is aggressive, and definitely the person who commented, if that aggression is a negative thing or a positive thing, or where it and how it comes from, we don't know. So I'm not particularly commenting on this at all. I'm just speaking of aggression. Even sometimes if a woman is aggressive, it's like, oh, she's being masculine, right? Like you may have a mother just defending her child, and it won't be seen as, oh, she's being a mother right now. She's actually in her feminine. We could talk about Callie. I mean, we could talk about the destroyer. That is feminine. That is female. That is not even over to masculine. So a lot of the ancient people, they acknowledge a destructive energy, a very forceful energy, as a feminine energy. But in today's culture, anything forceful and aggressive is masculine energy. Do you see what I mean? You see, so that's kind of a little bit of a distortion.
Yeah.
In a sense, right? Because our ancestors didn't think that, right?
It'll be according to your programming.
Right.
Exactly. What you saw as a masculine, if you saw a masculine being aggressive and abusive, mentally, physically, emotionally to your mother and your siblings, then you would see that as maybe a negative, right? It definitely will be according to your programming. And that's why I said a lot of us don't know what true, healthy, balanced, masculine discipline, authority, protection, provision, purpose, commitment, all of that is in a home and in a relationship. Men or women.
Yeah, and to go back to what you were saying, Yandea, about the destructive part of it, right? So in some societies, they look at God as an acronym, and it's governor, operator, destroyer. So sometimes, you got to build and destroy. You might have to go like unlearn, relearn, destroy, build.
Yes.
But if you look at it, the feminine energy is closely tied to the energy of creation. And creation and destruction come hand in hand. Like you can't have one without the other,
That's it.
Or the weather. I've often heard of the divine feminine compared to the weather, right? And so, there is definitely that destructive, fierce element to the feminine as well.
Exactly.
When I think of masculine, it's direct, right? It's decisive. That's what I think of. And I think of action oriented when I think of divine masculine. And I mean, that's what my divine masculine partner brings to me is, and maybe women can relate to this. It's an old silly analogy, but I think it's true. And when we're asked, where do you want to go eat? We're like, well, I don't know. What do you feel about today? Right? And we're waiting for the man to be like, all right, let's just go here. I'll make the decision. That for me, I know that's so simple, but that ability to make a decision and take action without having to feel into everything and overthink everything and analyze things. To me, that is powerful. That is one small but beautiful example of the divine masculine. And even within ourselves, like me, I have to intentionally cultivate that part of myself that has an ability to make a decision and take action. What I feel in my body when I think about divine masculine, and this was after a lot of healing and really leaning in, is feeling held, like just that feeling of feeling held. And I remember a very specific moment. I was actually at a personal development conference, and the facilitator had all the men in the room stand up and the women stay seated. And I don't want to give it away. It was a Tony Robbins event, in case any of you have been, maybe you remember this, or if any of you decide to go, I don't want to give this away, but there was a specific phrase and a specific action from a movie that he had all the men in the room do. I have never felt so much divine masculine power and presence as I did in that moment. And when I really opened to it and allowed myself, from a soul level and a heart level, to feel it, it was transformative, just in a moment. And so I think when we can allow ourselves, I had things that I was holding from a divorce and anger and different things, but when I allowed myself to open in that moment and really feel the power of the divine masculine to hold like a container for sometimes what can feel like the wild feminine that's within me, it is so powerful and so healing.
Yeah, I totally, I agree 100%. There's something, I think I probably said it before, but when I think of my experience as a woman, and I will speak for myself alone, when I think of my experience as a woman, feeling energy, I'm not going to say what kind of energy, just energy moving through. We'll say emotions. When I'm emoting ions, okay? When these emotions are moving through my body, I am telling you, I can feel quite chaotic within myself. Let something happen. Let me get some news about this person did this to your child, or something happened. Just let me find out that anybody wronged someone that I love. It's like something starts spinning, and I have to like, hey, calm this. I could feel whether you want to call it divine, burning rage, righteousness, whatever. There have been times in my life where I have felt such a fire, a consuming fire rise up within me. And it's never because of someone that I don't care about. It's always because someone I love so much is being wronged in some way. And so something within me rises, okay? And I just want to destroy. I'm being very honest. I just want to destroy this person or thing that has harmed the person that I love. That is the initial feeling. And then I have to put into place some logic, right? I have to put into place that logic. The heart is burning, and then I have to use the mind. Hey, bring it in here, sister. Let's think this through. Nope, that's not going to work out. Hey, this is what's going to happen if you do that. This is what's going to, right? Think that thing through. And then using, yes, the heart and the mind, make an intelligent, wise decision. I can say that there have been times where the mind, I didn't listen. I didn't conjure that, I didn't bring that mind in, not like I should. And that fire happened. And sometimes it's good. When I say good, it's good because you're able to see, hey, without the mind, I'm dangerous. I ain't making good decisions if I don't utilize my mind. So then I could say to myself, okay, yes, you burn, you feel the fire, but you're not going to live a happy, successful life if you just live from this fire and you don't align yourself to wisdom. You don't align yourself to logic. You don't align yourself. There's a place where the fire that burns in your heart and the wisdom that you get from your mind must come together so that you could walk really a truly balanced, like righteous path. And I find, just speaking for myself, in my practice, in my personal life, the women that I have come across who have, with their own hands, destroyed their lives. It has been because they let that fire rage and they never stopped and never thought that thing through. So I know within myself, we're talking about that divine masculine and feminine, that's how I see it, right? That passion, that everything, these emotions, like I said, energy is just coming out. That to me that's like that feminine when it's really swinging hard. But then the masculine in me is what I use to set those boundaries and perimeters. That's what it is for me. That's how it operates in me. That passion can also burn when I'm with my husband. The boundaries can stay out. The boundaries could stay out the room. I'm saying there's a time. You get what I'm saying? There's a time when you let it go. And why? Because he's there. He has that masculine energy. So I can be more in my feminine. Because when we're together, you get what I'm saying? We're one. And then that balance is there. But when I am on my own, just going through the world, just me, if I'm driving my car and someone cuts me off, if I don't use my mind and I just let that fire burn, I might follow someone home and cuss them off. Yes, it is true. People be like, oh my God, I never saw her like that. I'll tell you the truth. Or at least drive up right beside you and tell you something you don't want to hear. And you will feel really bad because it will be honest and truthful. But the thing about it is that's not right.
Yeah.
It's imbalanced. You see what I'm saying? So as females, learning how to feel that energy, but understand it's not divine if it is without the masculine. So I need the masculine. I need the masculine to help me see the boundaries. I need the masculine to help me set those perimeters. I need the masculine to help me protect myself from myself. That's what it's been in my life. And I've learned that so much from my husband. I knew some of it before him, but when he stepped in, oh my gosh, we're talking about mirrors. I saw myself. I saw, Yan, you are crazy. You are, girl, you better take a hold of yourself. Yeah. I saw it so clearly. And he would just be standing, like, I'm like, why aren't you emotional? Why aren't you? And it's just like, are you good? Like, and I'm looking for a reaction, right? Women love a reaction, right? We love that reaction. And when you have a man that's like not gonna be in your emotional nonsense, who's not gonna play, and he just stands like, let me know when you're done and we could talk. It's only so long that you can continue doing these crazy things. And eventually you learn to self-govern. So you talked about God, right? Government, what was it, Russell?
Governor, operator, destroyer.
There you go. So I think together, governor and destroyer come together to be operator. Do you get what I'm trying to say? I feel like, how do we want to operate this vehicle? You get what I'm saying? That's how I feel that balance is. But what about for you guys? How have you experienced that within yourself? Like, am I the only lady up here that feels that fire burn sometimes? Like those emotions you know what I mean? You have to catch yourself.
I think one interesting thing that I thought of as you were speaking, Yandea, is bringing it back to astrology for a second. You have a fire moon.
I do.
Your moon is fire. So for some women and men as well, we all have a different like emotional expression that we're going to go to under stress. So for someone with a fire moon like Yandea, it may come out as like anger, frustration, or I gotta do something about this. For me, for example, my moon is in Earth. So I get more like maybe more like sad or inability to take action, or even like tendencies for like, I've not been in a state of depression, but like more on that side of things.
Yes.
So I think like when we think about the feminine is the emotional part of all of us, and we're all going to have like a different emotional home.
That's good.
But it's also the heart. It's also that soft part of ourselves that can lean in and develop empathy and compassion, those sorts of things. So yeah, I can definitely relate to what you're saying, because when I go to those places of I'm like self-loathing, or I'm like self-destructive in some way, or I'm beating myself up, or I'm sad, then I've got to light my fire. Like I've got to find the fire part of me. And so for me, that's how I kind of relate to the masculine, because I'm like, that's that part of me, is the me that forces myself to get up and take some sort of action instead of just sitting on that.
Yeah.
So that's what I thought, is like how those different emotions, and then the counter to that might show up in all of us. And that may even color our association with masculine and feminine to some extent as well.
I want to say one thing, sis, because this might be a little key. And maybe it might be a little key. Maybe we could find it. For me, I feel the fire. I say that logic comes in. Maybe it's the water. I don't know. Comes in.
Yes.
Right? And what it's doing, it's protecting me. When you're in that place of, let's say, sadness or self-loathing, or, the emotions is a downward, it's downward spiral. That fire kicks in. It's what? It's to protect you.
Yes.
Still to protect you from going down. And that's the thing. It's like, whether it's a boundary or whatever it is, it's always about protecting you. That's what I feel like, in my experience, even if it's a no, the reason why that no is there is because it's for your own good.
Yeah.
And sometimes I feel like in this society, people have become so yes. Oh, I think I'm a toaster. Well, I must affirm you're a toaster, right? If you had to say you're not a toaster, whoa, you're being very very toxic masculine right now. Do you get what I'm saying? It's like, as soon as you tell somebody something that's even for their own good, even if you're trying to protect someone because, well, seems to me like your mental health is not really right now, you can't. So what I'm saying, we're talking about he has left. If the masculine's role in us and around us used to be one of protecting us from others and from ourselves, and we say, no, I don't want your protection. I want to be crazy if I'm crazy. I want to be able to be as promiscuous as I want to be, whether or not I'm going to regret it at the end of my life. I want to be able to do whatever it is that I want. I don't need you. I don't need your protection. I don't want your protection. I want to provide for myself. I want to work however many hours I want to work. I want to have equality. I want to have this. Do you get what I'm trying to say? This has been like the thing, right? For the past few decades. I don't need your protection. I don't need your provision. I don't need. And so if you don't need me, okay, have your way. And here we are. Here we are. You see what I'm saying? In a society that is crazy. Because what has said, I don't need you and I don't want you, has not been the divine feminine. The divine feminine always wants the masculine, always knows that we are one. So this energy that has pushed out the divine masculine or said, I don't need you, and has mimicked and pretended to be feminine energy, has not been feminine energy, has not been divine feminine energy. But without us knowing what feminine energy is or looks like, what masculine energy is or looks like, it's so easy to fall for the okie doke. Do you get what I'm saying? Go ahead.
So what you're describing is unhealed femininity. And then with the males, you have this toxic, unhealed masculinity, right? And you can see here in America, right? Especially in our communities where you have these women who have had to tap into their masculine damn near 50% or above. And it acts out like that, you know, the rage, you know, the I could do it by myself and all that. And some of them become financially successful, but it's like, is that really success? Like, there's different types of success, right? But at the end of the day, right, you have in the Black community here in America, you have approximately 65% of the single parent homes are headed by a woman. And a lot of times she's that type of woman. She's enraged and because she's angry, right? She's having to fend for herself. And now she's raising young men. And these young men, they see how conflict resolution is dealt with through this type of emotion, right? So now this guy, he encounters the policeman and he doesn't know when to shut up.
Right.
Acting emotional like his mama.
Like his mama, no boundaries, no understanding.
And it's creating a lot of turmoil, you know, and even amongst each other. It's like, you know, they'll pick up a gun and they'll get enraged and act like it's a video game. You can't press the reset button.
That's right. Yeah.
So like when we're talking about masculinity and femininity, this is not like child's play. This is real.
Real stuff.
Is real. People's lives are being changed because of something that seems simple. You know, it's not easy as simple, right? Because it comes with work, and that work is healing.
That's right.
And the world needs healing. Everybody. It's not just Black people, it's everybody.
Yeah.
But that's how it plays out in everyday life. So now you have a situation where men and women appear to be allergic to each other. And then you have this manosphere out here. People are monetizing our pain, you know? So, but that's why we're here. So I'll get off the horse. I digress.
No digression, bro. That was
Well
forward
said, well
movements.
said.
That's no digression there.
I was gonna say, Yandea, to what you were saying, how, like you said, your emotions come up. I spent, even before I met Russell, I spent years mastering my emotional
Facts.
energy.
You have to.
And that is probably the most important thing, both men and women, but definitely as women, that we really, really have to master. You really have to master it, because the truth is, you have to be in wholeness and balance yourself.
Yes.
I mean, we talked about the dance. Russell and I, we could dance because individually we have done that work into wholeness and balance individually.
Yes.
Now, when we're together, yeah, I don't have to protect myself. I don't have to do those things. He's here to do it. But I have to know when to put
Yes.
the armor down when
Yes.
he's here and
Yes.
recognize that, right? So, and it's so important that, because I know we're talking about the feminine and the masculine as people coming together in wholeness, but you individually have to come into that wholeness yourself.
Yes.
And it's work every day, moment by moment by moment. When that rise up, you have to be like, what's rising up in that moment?
Yeah. Feel that. Know
Like
it.
in that moment,
Yeah.
in that moment.
Yeah. And we mentioned, you know, I know, brother, you mentioned Ma'at earlier, and it comes back to know thyself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It comes back to know thyself. Know thyself. What I feel like, and I know we're talking about the masculine, but the masculine returns when the feminine gets to a place, you know what I'm saying, where it's healed and literally it's safe. It's safe for him to return.
Yeah.
Because remember, him leaving, it's like the masculine is like a wounded protector.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Conversation. Yeah, because sometimes the masculine, it's in his nature to protect, but sometimes he's protecting the wrong woman. The wrong type. Like you're exerting all this energy into your protection, but she's not who you're supposed to be protecting.
Girl.
That is wounded. You know what I'm saying? Just like the woman, she's the wounded healer as well. She's trying to work her magic on somebody that is not supposed to be the one she's healing. So it all comes to know thyself. But when that woman really understands herself emotionally, she'll recognize what he has to do in the work together anyway.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I want to go to some comments here. I'm just gonna say, I'm gonna call you Miss Sanctuary. Henosis Sanctuary. This conversation is really about what a balanced masculine energy looks like, not the current state of the masculine energy, which is an unbalanced state. And then she said, that's oneness. Speaking of something else, we were probably speaking on. She goes, thank you, sir. You are speaking my thoughts. Yes, Russell. And then she asked the question, is it protection or control?
Protection.
Yeah.
Protection.
No.
I understand that, because there are, and this is so good. Thank you so much for participating. You are here with us, trust.
That's a good
Mirror.
That's a good one. That is so good.
Can I answer that question?
Go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
Yeah, because we get that stuff a lot, and what it is, it goes back to what she was saying earlier, right? A lot of times they don't know, and I'm not saying them in particular, I'm just saying overall.
Yes.
Like, say, for example, I grew up in Pennsylvania and went to college, all that stuff. So all of my schooling, I never once had a black male teacher. Not one time. I was fortunate because I was an athlete, as a high school and college athlete, so I was always around men.
Yeah.
But if you never seen black male authority, whenever you hear it, it's going to sound controlling. But you never question it if it comes from somewhere else.
Wow.
They could tell you to stand on your head and put your finger on your nose, all the other stuff, and you think it's cool because they told you to do it.
Wow.
But the thing is, the way we approach life, love, everything, it's like you should love in a manner that that person feels free.
Mm,
It's never, you never will feel like a caged bird when you're around a masculine man,
facts.
divine, that's on purpose, because it goes against the laws of nature. So it's like
Yes.
anything
That's
that,
it.
and it has nothing to do with what your religious belief is, because I don't believe in none of that crap, all that Adam and
Mhm.
Eve, and the rib and all that, because it's like most of it's metaphor and everything else, and people have taken it out of context. But the thing is, us together are two wings on the same bird.
Yes.
So she sees my blind spots, I see her blind spots. I have her back, she has my back.
Yeah.
But if somebody was breaking the door or to attack either one of us, it is my duty to take care of business, right? So, and
Yes.
there's a saying, go back to what you were saying earlier about men, stay dangerous. And what that means is be disciplined. Like we're capable of doing great harm to somebody
Mhm.
Yes.
physically if we wanted to do so.
Yeah.
But that's where the discipline comes in, right? That's like in martial arts. They teach you discipline, how to control your emotions,
Oh, exactly.
all of this stuff, right? Because your body's a weapon at that point, right?
Yes.
So, when we're talking about divine masculinity, we're talking about somebody who's extremely disciplined.
Yeah.
If not, they're working on it daily. Like I work on this stuff daily. This is not a game to me.
Yeah.
I wake up and go to sleep like thinking about this. How do I become better? My only competition is the person that went to bed last night. That's
Yeah.
the competition I have.
Yeah.
I'm
And
trying the best me each and every day that I'm here on this earth.
And what I find in the comment about control versus protection, when you're a divine feminine, your relationship is on another level. You have to understand that, and you have to be very intentional and purposeful about this type of relationship. It's not the lower vibration where there's insecurity, there's cheating, you trying to do things on the side. We're completely transparent. We're very vulnerable with each other. We're very open. And when you have to be ready to tap into that. So it doesn't become controlling. Like he said, we love in a way that you feel free. That is unconditional love. Unconditional love is free. You'll never feel controlled. And that's a difference. So, but if you are in a relationship and you feel controlled, because love is not contracting, is expanding all the time. You never contract. And if you feel your light is contracting and you feel your personality and what you're here to do and your purpose, that person, because some people have insecurity and they want to stump you down. That is not divine. That's not divine. That's toxic, that's unhealed, maybe, unhealed masculine energy that needs to be healed and worked on. But when you're in this union, it's so free, it's so open, it's purposeful, it's intentional.
Very much so.
It really is. There's nothing to control because
Exactly.
the energy is the divine.
Yes.
Exactly.
And we know we're not even in control anyway. That's the divine working.
I want to add about, because we go through different stages, right, in our relationships. Even when you meet your divine counterpart, there's still sometimes that growing into each other, proper alignment, you're fitting. And sometimes you may meet them when you're, let's say, 98%.
Yeah.
not fully there. Something that I learned from my hubby, and I never saw it as control with him, only because I could feel the love. And if somebody else had to do it, I'd be like, you're controlling, right? If somebody else did it, because the difference with protection and control is that for me, with protection, you can feel the love. With control, you can't feel love. What you could feel is fear. Control gives you a feeling of they are afraid
Yeah.
of something, for me to do something, that they would lose something. There's a fear, there's a fear, there's a fear. When it's protection, it's like, this person loves me so much that I can feel the love. I could feel that they're looking out for me. We just talked about blind spots. So for me, I realized, wait a minute. If I say, you know what, babes, I'm going to just run to the store and I'm just going to get this thing. He says, no, 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 just wait. I'm coming home. Wait, don't go yet. I'm coming home. Right? All the time. Just wait, babes. I'm coming home. Someone might say, he doesn't want you to go to the store by yourself. Girl, that's a red flag. Now, I don't mind waiting for him to go to the store because I like being together. And so when he says that to me, I'm like, okay, he's finishing work. Why should he come home when I not be home? He wants me to wait a little bit so we could go to the store together, spend that time together. There's no part of it that I'm feeling he's trying to control my movements. I could feel the love when he says, hold on, babe, just wait 5 minutes. I'll be home. We'll go together. I could feel the love. I can also feel the fact that maybe it's late. Maybe the roads are icy. Maybe, when I'm with my husband, I don't even drive. I have to ask him really, like, "Biz, you sure you look tired? Let me just drive. Let me just drive." He's like, I'm good. He just wants me to sit there and just enjoy the ride, and he's going to drive. Is that controlling? Well, the fact is, one, he's a better driver than I am. I'll tell you that any day. So if it had to be who's a better driver, he'll get it. And there is nothing wrong with someone wanting you to just relax. And for them to want to be the ones who's looking left, looking right. Why? Why would that be controlling? I feel like we as women don't know what it is to be loved.
We don't.
Facts. You just nailed it.
That's it.
We don't
That's
know
the
what it
end of
is
the
to be
show.
loved.
Yeah.
We don't know what it's like. What the
Ooh.
told me when Russell and I got together, and I was like, listen, I gotta do something. Because I gotta keep my body moving. You just can't come and do everything because I need to stay healthy. I gotta move my body. And he wanted to do everything. I'm like, listen, I gotta move my body too, okay? So, but what the divine showed me was, Janie, you earned it.
Yes.
You have
Rest.
a vibration
Yes.
of unconditional love, and I'm putting you on this pedestal, and the king that's going to protect you. Allow it. And when I heard that and I got that, I said, okay, God, okay. okay. And then I just allowed it. And it's like, you're showered. And because I earned it and I deserve it and I did the work on myself to get here.
Yes.
So,
Can I say one more thing?
yeah.
Please say it, brother.
It's like the word husband, right? Comes from what? Husbandry, right?
I just was talking about this. What was it? Yes, last night I said that.
Yep.
Exactly. So my job is to make sure she gets proper like nutrition from the soil, sunlight, water. And that's the thing, like opening the doors, complimenting her, you know what I'm saying? And letting her know that she's beautiful and making her feel secure and protecting her heart, all of that. And it's like in me being vulnerable and being a safe place for her to land her plane and me to land my plane there. You know what I'm saying? So it's deep. And like I said, we've been working so hard on it because once we totally understood what it was, and I'm talking about it was something that just we'd have to do another podcast on it. We actually wrote a book. We wrote a book, and a lot of it's in the book because there were a lot of magical and spiritual things that happened when we came together to just validate and secure, and it's never really stopped. So it's like it's real, and it's almost like when you have your first child, and you're at the gym or you're at work or whatever, and you're showing people the pictures, and you're like, "Did you show me 10 yesterday?" It's like, and it's like because it's so new to you, and it's hard to explain because it just came out of nowhere, right? This new being, and when you reach a level of divinity within a relationship, that it's godly. Like we're trying to figure out a name for our book. And one of the titles we didn't use, but it was like universally arranged, because it was almost like all the stars lined up.
Yeah.
All the stars lined up and
All the
placed us in each
astrology.
other's path. And I've been trapped in her orbit ever since.
Facts. Forever trapped.
Forever
But
and ever.
I agree, women,
Magnetized.
we don't know what it really is, what it really feels like to be loved in that divine way.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
really don't. And you know, I'm just grateful. I'm just grateful to be in the vibration to have such a beautiful alignment.
Yes. You know, you said something, Russell, and this is the part where we could come here again, back to the control and protection. You said husbandry. And I mentioned, like, last night, I just was talking about this last night. And here's the thing of husbandry that people often leave out. Part of being great at husbandry is being able to figure out, how can I get this plant to be its best?
Mm.
And let's pretend you have a tomato plant. If you have a tomato plant, and this is real because I used to grow tomatoes, right? You have your tomato plant and you're growing it, and oh my gosh, they come up and ooh, big leaves, beautiful big leaves. You're like, wow, who would have known a tomato plant can be so beautiful and green and luscious, right? And then the tomatoes start coming up and they're tiny, teeny tiny. And you're like, what the hell is wrong? The plant is so big and the fruit is so small. Part of being a good husband is looking and getting rid of those big, lush looking leaves. Because those big, lush looking leaves, and put yourself in the consciousness of a woman who's the tomato plant. And it's like, what? I've been growing this. I've had this forever. This leaf right here, this leaf is like my best friend. I've had this other leaf right here. I've been doing this for so long. I go to that place all the time. Nothing's wrong with it. Look how big and how it's flourished. And then here comes the husband. You shouldn't go to that leaf anymore. You shouldn't go to that place anymore. Can't you see it's taking all your energy? Can't you see it? Can't you see it stopping you from your fruits being big and juicy? I understand you've had this forever, but you're not realizing you've had it forever and all it's been doing is draining your life force. Can't you see that? No, we absolutely cannot see it, which is why we've been growing it for so long. But when he comes along, he's able to say to you, I love you, babe. And guess what? I'm looking at you and I'm telling you, because I love you, there's some things in your life that are actually taking your energy. And they're not allowing you to bring your fruits into proper maturity. You know what I'm saying? They're not allowing you to be the best version of yourself. So I'm going to suggest, maybe try it. Maybe that girlfriend that's calling you all the time, and every time she has a problem with her man, she wants you to have a problem with your freaking man too. Maybe that girlfriend isn't, you know, the misery love company girlfriend. You know what I'm saying? You know that one? You know that family member that always seems to, you know what I'm saying? There's all of these things. And when he comes along and he cuts those big leaves, you might be sad for a while because you think you're not as vibrant. But then your tomatoes start becoming massive. You know what I'm saying? The point of the plant is to produce the fruit.
That's right.
It's not to produce big leaves. The goal is the fruit. So when your divine masculine rises, yes, he will protect you and do all these amazing things Russell just said. Guard your heart and everything, but he's going to cut some shit out your life. He's going to help you to see the things that are in your life that are actually stealing your life force energy and hindering you from being the best version of yourself. If you call that controlling, it's because you yourself don't even know what's in you. Do you get what I'm saying? You don't understand the glory that's inside of you. So when someone comes and they love you so much and they're saying, girl, I'm telling you, you're leaking energy. You're leaking energy. You're allowing, these people are vampires. You're allowing these things to drain you. And you're just like, oh, he's trying to control me. He's trying to control me. Okay. But those people are flourishing and they don't have time for you, but you always have time for them. And these things, you know what I'm saying? And as soon as you do your snip, 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 all of a sudden, everything in your life starts going upwards. Do you get what I'm saying? So if we, like, so personally for me, why I didn't see it as controlling is because I always knew my potential. I always knew that God had placed these fruits inside of me, these gifts. I feel so emotional telling you this. I always knew I had these gifts and these fruits inside of me, but no man that ever came along in my life ever cared enough to say, I am gonna not take from you, and I am just gonna give to you, because I see that everybody in your life is taking from you. So I'm gonna step in and I'm gonna give to you, and the places I see that these people are using you, I'm gonna tell you. And because I realize, oh, he's seeing what's inside. He knows the potential in here, and he actually wants that potential to come to the fullness. He's the first person to actually ever step in the way to say, I know you may hate me, but I love you too much to not tell you the truth about who you are and all that you should be. So when that divine masculine comes into your life, if you thought you were shining then, you don't know yet. He literally comes and protects you in order to uplift you, for you to be the best that you could ever be. He never tries to compete. It's not about shadowing you or pushing you in the back. But if you don't know who you are and what you have, you think that he's controlling you because you don't know your own gift and you don't know your own potential. He's telling you what other people don't want to tell you because they're benefiting off of you. Do you see what I'm saying? Because he's in it to protect you. And I'm saying this out of, I've had ex-husbands. I'm saying it from lived experience. Duane has known me for 12 years. He's been through 2 exes. And I read a card from my daughter, today's Father's Day, and I read a card that she wrote for my husband, not her dad. She wrote this card for my husband. And in that card had a line, and I just, I peeked at the card. And she said something along the lines of, I've never seen mom so happy. And thank you for doing and being all of, whoever you are, whoever you've been to her and to our family and all of this stuff. And she's so happy, for his existence in her life and how she would not be the person she is today if it wasn't for him. That's what the divine masculine does. He uplifts everyone around him. He's a pillar. God has made him to be a pillar, a strong tower, a protection, someone we can run to and be saved, be safe. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, that is the truth. And I think that because women do not even know how to accept love, what love even is, when that thing shows up, sometimes we're running from it. Sometimes we're seeing it as the total opposite because there's so much healing that has to be done.
Yeah.
So I would just say to my sisters, don't be all up in here, right? Stop and pause and ask yourself, am I running from love? Am I afraid of love?
That's a real question, right? Because, sometimes I think women, they want a relationship, but do you really want this?
You really want it.
Do you really want this? Because you have to show up as a divine feminine, just like that divine masculine showing up. You have to show up every day. Every day you have to show up.
Yeah.
You know?
This reminds me of
Kes, okay, go ahead, brother.
uh there was this Maya Angelou interview I seen years ago. She had been married some 6 or 7 times, if I'm not mistaken. And they asked her what she thought about the institution of marriage. And she said she believes it's a beautiful thing. She still believed in it. And what she
Yeah.
said, I never forgot. She said it takes a great person. I don't know if she used the word great. It takes a great person to love somebody, but it takes even a greater person to receive that love.
Facts. Facts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because a lot of times
Facts.
reject was good for them, because a lot of times they've never experienced it. So it's like, and it goes back to our book is on capacity to love. It's a capacity thing, you know.
Capacity.
And they have a teacup full of love, and this other person over here has this big old gallon jug, and they're just pouring into them, and the overflow, and it's smothering them, and they're like, why you treat me so good? You know, or the woman that goes, there was a show anyway, I'm getting off the tangent, but you have some people that you treat them too good, then they think
You
something.
run. It's a red flag.
Yeah, and they need some form of toxicity to
Yes.
survive, because that's what they're used to.
Yes.
Unfortunately. Yeah.
Yeah. Kesley?
Well, I just really resonate with what you're saying about, well, you kind of the pruning, but the growth piece, because, and I think it works both ways, right? Like the divine feminine will be with her divine masculine partner, and she will ultimately want the best for him. She will ultimately want him to become his best self.
Yes.
And the same vice versa. And it can come with some difficult conversations. So yeah, you have to be ready to hold that space and be confident, like even as a woman, as a divine feminine, in what you see.
Yeah.
But then also for me, it's like being open even when your ego feels sensitive. Like even when you feel like, ooh, I don't want to hear this. A divine masculine who truly loves you will tell you the truth, even if it's difficult for you to hear. Obviously, we'll do it in a sensitive, kind, loving, gentle way, but you have to be ready to receive that and to be open to that. And there have been points where my ego wanted me to run, wanted me to be like, he's wrong, like, you know yourself, you got this. But no, that mirror, that divine masculine is seeing things in myself that I wasn't ready to see. And the only reason that he shared it with me and those situations was because he wanted me to grow. And to the leaking energy, like, yes, we divine feminine have a tendency to do that. I was doing it a lot. Like I was pouring so much energy into everyone else, and there were still parts of me that I needed to be focusing on, where I needed to pour back into my own cup. And he saw that in ways that I didn't. And so, yeah, I really resonate with what you said about when you're in a divine partnership, you are going to start to have these spiritual visions, and you will occasionally have to invite the other person to see what they don't see in themselves. And I think that's a gift we can give both directions.
Yeah.
Yes.
When we met, I had kind of stopped all the leaky energy, all that. I was really in complete alignment, right? And one of the things I told him was like, I'm here, and you're gonna have to come here because I'm not getting out of here.
That's right. Yeah.
And he was like, I'm coming there. You know, he was okay with doing what it took to meet me in my God box.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't lowering my vibration for anything, because that's where I was. And I'm saying that to say that any divine man, he will meet you. He will do the work. He will work on himself. He will, whatever it takes, because he knows that a part of his purpose is in you.
That's right. That's all it is.
And you don't, and I think because again, when the feminine remembers, the masculine returns, if you hold the vibration, if you constantly, oh, I'm gonna come down because, well, you know, blah, blah, blah. Well, I'm gonna come down again because blah, blah, blah. I'm gonna come. Then after a while, you got nothing left.
Nothing left.
Nothing left. So you stay here and we hold the vibration. And that man who I mean, he would say it all the time. I see it. And I would, how do you know? I'd be like, how do you know? He was like, I already know. I
Yeah.
already know. He saw, right? But, and I was like, here I am. And he, whatever it took, he was there. And so it's so important as women to recognize that. But you have to be in alignment. That's so important as a woman. I had did the work with cutting off, vampire stuff, draining my energy. If it wasn't for purpose, I wasn't leaving my house. He can
Facts.
tell you that. He can tell you that. If it wasn't to support true family and friends on their purpose, I wasn't leaving my house.
Thanks.
I wasn't watching TV shows, Atlanta Housewives. I don't watch TV. I don't waste energy. I don't waste no energy. All of my energy is here.
Yeah.
And so when you're there, it's easy. The clarity is so easy to see. And you know what's not for you, and you know what's okay. This is okay. I think this is right. This is good.
Yeah. It's amazing that you sharing that, sis, because you said something that's very important. He will rise to wherever you are because in you he sees part of his purpose.
Yeah.
Man, it is so like this is the thing. When we say it all the time, right? When the divine masculine and feminine are together, it is God. It is most high moving through this union to accomplish something amazing, awesome, bringing balance back into this world.
Yeah.
So you have to say, if these unions are the spirit of most high moving through this world, creating different things, bringing raising the vibration, right? Bringing remembrance back to different places. Well, then doesn't it make sense that if someone wanted to distort that creation, they would then have an agenda to cause there to be a misalignment or a separation between this union?
Yeah.
And
you see what I'm saying? And then how does it start? And so a question I want to ask you guys. How do you think the absentee father, doesn't matter why he's absent, it could be because the woman was terrible, it could be because he was terrible, it could be because of death, it could be because of many things, incarceration, many things, right? How does no father in the home, what kind of effect, and we touched on it a little bit, but what kind of effect does that have on the girl child? What kind of effect does it have on the male child? Because this little girl and this little boy are going to raise to be, they're going to become adults. And then they're going to be viewing each other from the lens of whatever brokenness or issues or perspective, conclusions they came to when they were, being raised in that household without a father. And it doesn't have to be a father, but without that masculine energy, because you could have no father, but there was a grandfather, there was an uncle, there was a neighbor, there was a friend, someone who stepped in and did that, right? But when someone has nothing, the little boy has no example, the little girl has no idea of this protection and provision. What, my mom worked 5 jobs. You get what I'm saying? Like, how does that affect them? What are some ways that we see?
Duane, knock that one out, man. He got good insight.
Well, yeah, you see, we discussed towards the beginning of that imbalance. So you see that continue down the line. So for example, you mentioned like, even you mentioned your mom, working all those jobs to try to take care of things or whatever the case may be. Then the woman has to become both the masculine and the feminine, and is, not really able to know like where her energies are needed necessarily, because she has to spread them out so thin. And then the child growing up in that environment is also called to do things at a very early age that they don't necessarily like. It's like before their time. So for example, if you're the older child now, you're taking care of the younger children because there's not two parents in the house. So now you have to like come out of your childhood early to kind of
Mm.
step up and assist. And then, it creates more and more imbalance as you go down. And if you don't have a good example of what that looks like when you're young, then when you go into relationships and when you go into different aspects of your life, that imbalance continues to spread through the choices that you make, through the people that you choose. Like we talk about husbandry, no matter how much fertilization and water and sun and pruning and everything you can do, if a seed is not a good seed, it's not a good seed, and it's not going to grow and be that fruitful tree that you want it to be. So sometimes people are there like investing so much energy into
Mm.
things that are not going to do any, like they're not going to make good use of that energy. So all of that, it's like important to see an example, like you said, even if it's not a father, if it's a grandfather, if there's somebody else coming in to help balance that out, where you can see the harmony between the two, and then it helps you embody that harmony in your life moving forward.
I'm gonna ask you, Duane, to touch on this because how
Mhm.
old were you when your father passed away?
21.
21. And
Mhm,
I remember we talked about this, and I'm talking to Duane because I know Duane, and I know he
mhm,
Duane is like all he's all in it, right?
mhm,
So would you say, because I remember we had a discussion one time, and you're like, even there's a poem
mhm,
there's a poem that you wrote. I always cry
mhm,
when you read that poem. I mean, I'll ask you to read it today, but there's a poem that you wrote, and in the poem you share some things that you never got to learn, you never got to
mhm,
experience because your dad was
mhm,
never there.
mhm,
And I guess the question I'm asking you, because you can speak from the place not of, okay, my parents didn't love each other, but my dad passed away when I was
mhm,
young. And
mhm,
what did that mean for you? So you could still, even if, and I'm saying this because you're an adult and he passed away. And even
mhm.
as an adult, having him pass away, having him
Yeah,
not there to
yeah,
give certain guidance,
yes,
you felt it.
absolutely.
So how much
Yeah,
more if he's never there?
yes, exactly.
So can you talk to us from like that personal,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, like, my dad passing when he did, it's a really beautiful thing when young men get into that stage of adulthood where you're no longer in rebellion, you're no longer just, off doing your own thing. And the relationship with your father, if like both people are, willing, that relationship can really deepen to where you're able to like glean like truths from them, like understand what it is to be a man, walk alongside them in that way, and, like have them share their experiences with you in a way that can guide you further into manhood. I never got that with my dad. Like our relationship ended where it was still like, yes, I was technically an adult, but I was still like in university. I'm more in like the child phase of adulthood. You know what I mean? So like that like blossoming of like, like today as I was driving home, I saw like this young man and his father just walking. And I was like, wow, like you don't really see that. Like he looked like he could have been 25, 27, and his dad was maybe in his 50s or 60s, and they're just having a walk in the neighborhood. And it was like, I can't count how many times I've seen that kind of relationship lately. You know what I mean? But that allows for you to know someone not just as like a disciplinarian or someone who's there to like correct or even provide and protect, but now it's like it levels out a little bit more where you get to know them as a person, as a human being, and like what mistakes did you make, what flaws did you know, how did you learn, how did you overcome, like, you know what I mean, like that level of maturity that you gain, you know, it's so important.
Yeah.
It's
And
very
and
important.
how and how hard has it been to learn that all on your own?
Yeah, very. It's like I have to gather from where I can gather, but I really have to father myself is what it is, you know? And you know, that's a whole journey because like if you're not a father, like fathering yourself, it takes a lot of trial and error, you know?
Hmm.
It takes a lot of, you know, discovering, but like yeah, you know, basic things even like, when your dad would take you and teach you how to drive or when he would take you and teach you how to, I don't know, just basic things, that you know, how to be a man, how to walk right, how to carry yourself, how to take care of, how to approach women, how to be in relationship with women. You kind of have to take what you've had. I've taken the example that I've had with him over the years that I had him and extrapolate what I was able to. And, and then see other people in my life that I've met along the way and see qualities that they've had and kind of like bring all of these things together to shape, you know, um, that can be like a guide to myself, you know? Yeah. So,
And
and
thank you
that's,
so much.
and that's with having
Yeah,
20 women.
yeah. And the
You
thing,
just imagine.
the reason why I'm asking you that, and I know you'd be okay with sharing, is
Mm-hmm.
because so often when we've talked about being, that divine masculine, you've made comments like, I'm nowhere ready for a woman. Hell no. Like I
Mm-hmm.
am, of course I would want there to be someone in my life, but until I
Mm-hmm.
can feel like I can do this and that for a woman,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying to bring it. I think it's so responsible. It's so like I admire it so much because some people just I want to be in a relationship and they don't care that you're a mess.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
So just from that's one thing I feel like both men and women can come to that place to realize, okay, I didn't get a good example. I don't have enough information about how to do this, how to be a good wife. What is a wife? What is how do I, even if before marriage, how do I date somebody?
Mm-hmm.
How do I even date?
Yeah.
Right. And I would say this, a good father, in my opinion,
Mm-hmm.
raises his daughter to understand the importance of her virginity.
Mm-hmm.
Good father, a good mother. That daughter is going to grow up in a household where she sees how her father loves the mother, how the mother responds, and she is going to desire that within herself. If we're talking about a perfect, okay, we can't just talk about the messed up stuff. We
Yeah.
have to have a goal, right? So
Mm-hmm.
a divine masculine, a divine feminine mother and father have children. This is how their children get to be blessed. The daughter sees, this is mom, this is dad, they love each other, this is how they solve problems, this is whatever. And they instill into her, you're born with something that is precious. You're born with something that is worthy of waiting for someone who sees who you truly are and who wants to protect you and treat you exactly like the way you see me treating mommy. And someone might say, but that's control. Women today should get to do whatever the hell they want. Well, you may say that, but most women who go down that road have a shit load of regrets.
Yeah.
I don't have a better word. That's the word I want to use. That is the word I want to use. They have a ton they have a ton of regrets. Because had they known what they know now, why? Sure, they could say, oh yeah, it was my time or whatever. Just let them get a little older, a little old. When you look back, it wasn't necessary. You did those things because you did not know your worth. And I feel one of the most important things a father in the household does is help his daughter understand her worth. I feel like the biggest thing that little girls miss out on when they're not raised with fathers who are masculine, divine masculine, who show up like that in the household, is that they grow up not understanding that without doing anything, you're a prize. You get what I'm saying? A lot of little girls just don't know that. And so as soon as they, within them, they have a craving and a desire for that affirmation from a male. They do. It's in them. They crave it. They crave the attention from a male. And if there is not a father to give her that attention, to let her know, hey, I see you, you're great, this, that, trust me, you're the best. Don't just, you're the treasure. Don't just throw yourself out there to anybody. Someone needs to fight for that. Someone needs to work for that. Someone needs to be worthy of you. If that's not in here, in her mind, if she doesn't view herself as that, then she's going out there and desiring that, and the first person to holler at her, to give her a little bit of attention, the attention she's been craving ever since she was little, that person is going to get it. And then that would not work out. She'll still crave it. The next person will get it, and she'll still crave it, and it will go on and go on. And then through that process, guess what's happening? Doesn't matter what she says, she starts losing the little bit of worth she had, keeps going down and down and down. Then it doesn't matter. Oh, well, I already did this much. Doesn't matter. Then she'll start telling herself, I'm empowered. You get what I'm saying? Everything. And then it just keeps going. Then she'll have a daughter and she won't need a man. So she'll have her daughter. And because she never went through that process of healing, how can she tell her daughter something different? And then there's still no man there to tell the daughter, hey, you're worthy. And it just keeps going. You get what I'm saying? And it's this like cycle that we seem to be stuck in. And then it's like on the flip side for the boys. If the boys don't see how the dad treats the mother like on a pedestal, they don't understand that that's also how they're supposed to treat women. But not just any woman, because his father would have taught him, hey, your mother is one of a kind, bro. Your mother right here, this is a good woman. Let me tell you about a good woman. Let me tell you about your mama. Let me tell you about how we met. Let me tell you what we did. That's what Duane's talking about. That time when a father gets to be with his son and say, let me tell you what a good woman is, what she does, how she makes you feel, how you're supposed to treat her, protect her, what you're supposed to look for. You get what I'm saying? If we need family. We need people to stop and reflect and say, well, if I'm going out there and becoming a father or becoming a boyfriend or a husband, do I know what the hell I'm doing? What is really what's my example? Did it work? Does that work? So we're jumping into these things, these relationships, and because, oh, I'm this age, I should be married by now, or I'm already this, I still have my virginity. You get what I'm saying? Like, we're just jumping into these things, not realizing like hurt people, broken people going together. Maybe it's not gonna mesh. You know what I mean? It's not gonna mesh. It's not gonna work. And we keep hurting each other, and without realizing that we need to pause and heal. You know, so from my example of looking at it from my own life, from other people around me, I just keep seeing this snowball and this downward spiral. I'm like, when is it going to stop? Like, I am so grateful that my husband now, like, before I even said yes to him, I asked my children. And you know what my son said? My two sons and my older daughter, they were there. And I said, you know what? What do you guys think? And they said, Mom, my son said, both of the boys said, Mom, I think he'd be a great example for us. Mm-hmm. And I was driving. I still remember exactly where I was when I was having this conversation with them. Oh, that's good, Mom. I think he'd be a great example for us. They didn't even talk about the first thing they asked me was, how do you feel about him? Does he make you happy? I said, yes. Okay, good. I think he'll be a great example for us. So to have my son say that, they already knew from me what a good man was, but they didn't have one in their life. But when they saw him, my own sons were able to be like, oh, there's that example Mom always been talking about. And we want him. So I think even if you have children from another marriage, when you meet a divine masculine, even your children are able to say, he's good for us.
I don't think you should. Yeah. You shouldn't date anyone that you don't see as a father example if you have children from a previous marriage.
Yes.
If you don't see that person as a father for your own children, then you don't date. Like, you have to be intentional going into the dating scene, then you everything else will be intentional. You shouldn't, if you can't see that person as a father example to your child from previous marriage, you shouldn't even date them.
I'm going to say something.
Same as a woman, if you don't see a woman that you be like, man, she would be a beautiful example as a mother to my children that I already have. You know what I'm saying? You can't.
I'm going to say something, and I know people have a lot maybe to say, but when I saw my husband and he has a daughter and I saw him interact with his daughter, I literally thought to myself, this is the father I wish I had. I saw him interact. I wasn't saying I wanted him to be my dad because I wanted something else. But I'm saying, right? I saw him interacting with his daughter. I mean, literally, he had her strapped up into this, the little carrier thing. Then he had his shovel and, we're on the farm and he was doing stuff. And I was like, this man is doing farm work with his daughter on his back. Then he would like take her down and she would run through the grass and everything. And he was so watchful. But he was allowing her to be free. He was allowing her to fall. He wasn't babying her when she would scratch. You'd watch, see how she reacted. And then, you okay? Yeah, Daddy, I'm good. And then I was like, oh my gosh, such perfect love, the watchfulness, the attentiveness. But he's not following her around. He's doing what he's doing, but he's watching and he's quick. He's ready to make a move. He has to. And I was just looking at this and I was saying, this is just like the most beautiful thing that I've ever seen. And I would watch his attentiveness. I said, I wish I had that in my life. If I had to choose a father, he would be my father. Like now, I would say, if I had to choose, I know my dad, love you, Dad, happy Father's Day, right? My dad was my dad specifically because I had to be who I am. You get what I'm saying? So the next thing is, obviously, if my husband can't be my dad, I'd want him to be the dad of my children. Do you get what I'm trying to say? But that's it. When you find your spouse, that counterpart, you have to ask, would I choose this person to be my parent? Because that means they have qualities. You get what I'm saying? They have qualities that you could say, this is the fixing that I would have wanted in my life, which means if I have children with that person, they already have those qualities. Do you get what I'm trying to say? They already have those qualities that we now can raise our children together, and there could be that wholeness, that balance, So just like Janie's saying, if you meet someone and you don't think that they'd be a good father, but not just any father, because that person has to work with you. You guys don't want to clash on parenting things. You have to have like an agreement. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And just think about it. Like, Janie, would you like if Russell was your dad? Would you be okay with him being your dad?
So, so I
Mhm.
can respect your perspective.
Yeah, that's good.
But I personally, when I saw Russell, because he has two children from a previous marriage,
Mhm.
I loved him being a father, right? I never saw him like, oh, I would want him to be my dad, right? I never saw that because I had a beautiful relationship with my father, but
That's
I
great.
admired who he was with his children, right?
Yes.
And that was one of the most amazing things that drew me to him because I love a man that has children and they are in that they're doing it. They're
They're
in
doing
it.
it.
Not
Yeah,
that you have children, because any man can make a child. A
that's right.
father rears his children. He
Yes.
disciplines his children. He loves them. I've seen Russell mush up because of his kids, right? So, and when you see a man that's so masculine become so fragile with his
Yeah.
children, it's like, okay.
Yeah.
But and that's what I'm saying. That's just my perspective because you remember I told you that my father passed, and that was a part of me and Russell's coming together.
That's right.
He actually covered me in that process, right? That was a part of our meshing as well. So it's almost like my father was leaving, but Russell was coming in as the protector. But I saw him in his own fatherhood. I couldn't say that that's what I saw because I didn't have.
Yeah, you had a good relationship.
Yeah, I
Yes,
had a great
yes,
relationship with my dad,
yes.
you know?
I think that's amazing because you had, so this is a good comparison because, for example, my parents divorced when I was like 3, 4 years old, right? Like I was very young. They got divorced, right? And so I was raised, most people know, with my grandparents, right? My grandfather was good, but I was like the granddaughter, and they had like 11 children. So I was a baby in there amongst all of these, other aunts and uncles and stuff. And when I came up to Canada, my mom remarried, stepdad, strained relationship because I'm not his daughter, right? Um, it could be different, but people are people, right? I'm thankful always for what he's done and what he's taught me and given to me and all that good stuff. But that father feeling, I always knew it because when I was very little, I had it with my dad. And then my parents split up and then he disappeared. So within myself, I knew what that love and protection felt like because I had it. Then I never got it again.
Mm.
But I always craved to at least have my children have it. At least because I know what it is. I know what it feels like to be a little girl who's loved, protected, and provided for. I know what that feels like, but it was just cut off very young. So I know what I want to give my children. I know what I want them to have. And when I saw my husband, because I didn't have that, I knew when I saw it in him, it was like, whoop, there's the rest of it. I knew he had that. You get what I'm saying? So that thing was missing. And because I didn't have it, and I knew what I had, I was able to, even if it was a little bit, I was able to see it in him. You knew it, you had it for a long time, and you're able to see those same qualities in your husband to the point where he was able to come and cover you. Funny thing is that my husband, just like your dad transitioned and my husband's mom transitioned and I came in and was there. So it's beautiful the way, how things just balance out. And I am way softer than my husband's mom. My husband's mom was like Caribbean mother, very hard. And when he was going through that time of his mom transitioning, we had met already before, but then literally like the next year, no, a few months after we met, right? Because she transitioned in February, we had met in June. Very fresh, right? She transitioned and I was able to be there with my femininity and my love and be that, just take him in and be there for him. You know what I mean? And he never experienced that sort of femininity from his mom, but he knew it. He knew what,
Mm.
you get what I'm saying? He knew what he was desiring.
Yeah.
It was almost, and what I'm just gathering is almost like it was a trigger in a way of the void that you both had in childhood. And
Yeah.
I'll say with Russell, Russell's mom loved him, loved him. There was no void in love. So it was just like he says it all the time. Okay, this woman loves me like my mother loves me. And he could recognize it. So it didn't come from a lack. It came from
Mhm.
on both of our
That's
Now
on
in
both of us.
abundance.
right.
So I
Yeah.
feel like, you know, that's what made us so so unique in our situation, that
That's
we were
beautiful.
really solid and really whole when we came together.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
what it comes down to is this. It doesn't matter, because someone might say, well, I never had a dad, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Someone could say, well, I have a dad, right? I should know, but then they don't. So what it comes down to is being able to identify whether you've had a mom or dad that was there or whatever, or you had it or you didn't have it, is can you identify what love is?
Mhm.
That's it. Can you identify? Because like I said, my dad wasn't there, but he was there long enough for me to know what that felt like.
Mhm.
Right? And same with you, right? You guys, your parents were there. You know what it feels like. So whether you have a lot of it or just a little bit of it, once you could know what it feels like, and sometimes it's not going to come from your parents, it's going to come from someone else around you, and that's okay. The key thing is to, before you get into a relationship and you get all tangled up, identify, what does love look like? What does it look like me giving it? And what does it look like me receiving it? If you can pinpoint that, that's a good start.
And
That's
what it looks like getting it from masculine energy as well.
That's exactly it. That's what I'm saying. What does it look like, right? Coming from a mother, coming from a father, coming from masculine, coming from feminine, not toxic, not toxic. Right? Guys, Kez, Duane, you guys have anything to share there?
I want to hear what Kesley has to say.
Oh, well, so much that I resonate with. My husband has said the same thing to me, that the reason he recognized my love is that it's very similar to the unconditional love that his mother gave him. And what's also interesting is that my father and my husband and the way they love is very similar. They're the same zodiac sign. They're born just a few days apart, obviously different years. But he always says, I'm just like your dad, but spiritual. And that's what I wanted on my path, was right, recognizing that provider, protector energy. I knew that from being a little girl. But then also I wanted that spiritual piece to my relationship. So that's how I knew it was a divine fit for me. You know, I know sometimes we talk about like relationships and how they've changed and evolved. One thing I've really enjoyed seeing about the divine masculine and fatherhood in this generation, particularly in my culture and my community, is I didn't see a lot of non-present fathers physically. Most fathers were present in the home, right? It was a lot of two-parent homes, but there was a lot of emotionally unavailable or not present fathers. Right? There was the provide and protect, but there wasn't always, and I just looked around like friends' homes and things like that, there wasn't always the emotional component of it. Like kids didn't always hear I love you from their fathers, or didn't always receive like hugs or affection from their mother or their father. That's very much like the you know, Northern European culture that I grew up in. It's a very like stoic kind of culture. And so I think that's an important thing, right? And that's one thing my husband and I talk a lot about with our 2-year-old daughter. She's in that phase of, Daddy, look at me, Daddy, look at me. She wants to always like show Daddy what she can do, that she can run down the hall, that she can do this, that she can swim, like all these things. And it's like those times I see her light up when he holds her, he says, I love you. He gives her affection and emotional support. Like that means so much to a little girl and to a child. So I
Yeah.
think we're moving into a new phase where it's not even just the physical presence, it's also like men are waking up to the emotional presence and the balance of the masculine and feminine within themselves. And I think like that's a huge like thank you, gratitude. Like I just want to acknowledge that, especially today on Father's Day. I love what I see when I look around the world, and I'm starting to see more and more of that. And yeah, the men in my family, like my brothers, I've seen it in them, my husband. It's really beautiful to watch.
Wonderful. Okay, I have a closing question, or yes, it's a question. I'm gonna ask Russell this. Russell might speak it all. None of us might need to say anything. But I want to ask Russell, if the masculine fully returns, what kind of world would this become?
Mm.
Heaven on earth, utopia. And that's what we are all striving for, right? Because it's like, and we talked about, you know, what the topics were going to be earlier, right? And she made mention about, you know, she remembers, he returns, right? And it's like part of the divine masculine's job is to protect her, to give her that type of environment so that she can blossom, right? And to help her to remember who she is so she can help me remember who I am, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And in that process, she becomes magnetic and draws me back. And
Yeah.
that's where the return occurs, right?
Yeah.
She remembers, he returns. And once we reach that level, like there was a wise man once said, where there are no good women, there are no good men. So
Gee.
we have a society where, you know, I'm not going to throw any names of some of these musical artists out there. And it's like this culture is just sex crazed. It is really raunchy, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, they're steering a lot of these young women and men down the wrong path. And, you know, until the women change, right? They're trying to trap men with wounded femininity, right? They're trying to
Oh boy.
use their
Yeah.
We see it
beauty
all the time.
they
All
use
the
their
time.
beauty to trap and manipulate men instead of using it to inspire them, right? And like
Yes.
there's the book by Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, right? Chapter 11, where he talks about sexual transmutation.
That's right.
That man becomes a genius once he falls in love with a woman, you know, and immatures, right? When he gets out of that phase where he's wasting all of his sexual energy chasing strange women and everything
Right.
else, and he focuses in on the woman of his desire, his wife, and he transmutes that energy, his business flourish, his
Everything.
spirituality raises, and the community raises, right? And you look at some of these cultures where the women are dominated. I think Billy Carson said it, but it was true. He like those cultures where the women are dominated, the countries look like maybe a male frat house or something, right? Like they're just
It's
like blah.
deserted. It's
Yeah.
deserted. Yeah.
And it's like until that balance comes back to where everybody's playing their part, you know, you have that Maya balance, you know, and the man and woman are sitting on the throne again as king and queen. And we have the whole 360 degrees covered. Now we have a state of utopia. And this is where I'll go back to religion just for 1 second. Like the problem I have when they speak of the Trinity, right? They say Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. And then they try to insinuate that even the Holy Ghost is a male.
Right.
When we all came from the womb of a woman. But
Yeah.
the original Trinity, going back to Egypt, if they want to be honest with it, when they're dealing with Asar, Aset, and Heru, which the Greek version, they changed it to Isis, Osiris, and Horus, right? But it was all about the mother, father, and child in the perpetual circle of life to keep recreating, because together that's God. and then they create Heru, or the hero, and that's where the whole hero's journey comes from. The movie Lion King is probably the best example of this Osirian drama, where Simba goes out and he loses the knowledge of himself, and he's out there singing the Kuna Matata and running through the woods, and Rafiki has to go out there and hit him in the head and remind him of who he is. He's the king, and that his people need him. He needs to go back, because he's the true ruler, because he's next in line. And he returns, but that's all of our journey. That hero's journey is returning back to who and what God intended all of us to be, which is divine. And we're children of the Most High. And so when we say divine feminine, divine masculine, we're saying that we are God's children of the Most High God.
That's right.
And that's what we are returning to. And that's what the Christ consciousness in heaven on earth is all about.
I love that. I love that. Something you said, and I feel like I have to share it, is the woman, the divine feminine, she remembers and he returns. And you mentioned the title, and as soon as you said it, she remembers, I heard her worth. There really is something important there, like extremely, extremely important.
Very.
I think like what it is that what does she have to remember? What is it that she has to remember? She remembers her worth.
Her value.
Her value. As soon as she remembers her value, her worth, and not just say it, she has to remember it. Remembering it means it's not like, I'm going to say this affirmation right now. I'm worthy. I'm worthy. No, no, no. Remember it. Oh, which means you once knew it and you forgot it. So you're remembering.
And then arrange your life
to that.
Because that's the thing. So we could have knowledge, but wisdom is the application of knowledge. So if I know my worth and I know my value, but all these things in my life is taking away from that, then I'm not walking in my wisdom, because that's also what we have to remember. So you have to rearrange, realign, so you could stay in that divine alignment. And you're going to magnetize and magnetize and magnetize to you everything you need.
Can I say just one last thing?
Go ahead.
Coming from the masculine to the feminine, women, your greatest strength and superpower lies in your femininity. That is the most magnetic, the most attractive thing that's on this planet. And the thing is, it's like, it's a turnoff to try to compete with a man by being masculine. We don't care how much money you make or how many degrees and all that. A man will drive up to Burger King and meet the girl hanging out the window, hand him his soda and his fries, and he will marry her if she touches his soul, like with her energy. It's your spirit. It's like that her spirit introduced itself to me before I met Janie. That was the connection. It was her spirit. And it was like we've known each other for lifetimes. And it was like within a month or so, it was like we're completing each other's sentences. She's reading my mind. I really thought she could read my mind. And I was like, I'm not going to lie to this woman, because she thoughts. It got that serious.
That is it.
And here's the thing, and Chesley, you'll love this one. Kesley, excuse me. I keep thinking about it. She has cousins named Chesley. But anyway, here we go. So my birthday is 11/11. And when we first met, I was cooking for her weight loss clients. And I told her, I said, I can't cook this weekend because it's my birthday weekend. I'm gonna be out of pocket. And she's like, oh, you're a Scorpio. And we start talking about it. I said, yeah, my birthday's on 11/11. And that started a conversation that never stopped.
Mm.
And it just got deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. But it went, that's how it started. It went from there. And it was just beautiful because it was just always hard to find people who are on this energy. Like, we're weird to the rest of the world. I'm talking
Facts.
about the rest of the world's catching up.
Nice.
The rest of the world's catching up. But all of you
Yep.
know exactly what I'm talking
Of
about.
course,
We're like
100%.
elephant.
Yeah.
And it's like you'll start talking about this stuff, and they're looking like you have a horn growing out the center of your head. But now it's starting to become commonplace, which is a good
Yes,
thing.
yes. People are
So,
catching on.
yeah,
And he's like 11, 11, 11. Even his birth year adds up to 11.
Yep.
like,
So I started to realize, okay, I just walked into a whole portal. Like he this is the whole portal. And it's true because a part of it was my shadow work as well, like kind of going in the waters of a Scorpio and understanding those emotions and getting deep down in there. And then we finally come up for air and like, okay, we made it, you know. But when I did meet him, my number has always been 444, synchronicity. I started seeing 1144. So it's almost like the energy, I knew our energies had already intertwined big time.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And the divine, I mean, there's all these things that the divine will reassure you that you are on the right path, big time.
Yeah, yeah. I think I want to ask this question. When we think of our own lives, you don't have to answer it, but when you think of your own life, you can ask this question: has my partner helped me to remember who I am?
yes.
And how have they helped me? And I will share this small thing, and maybe it could be the last one, because I can look through and like I praise and love and honor my husband. And for a long time, I had negative feelings, towards my exes. It came up again. I thought it's all gone. And then when I met my husband and I was getting all this love, I was like, I knew this is what I deserved. I knew it. I knew that there was somebody who would see me. I always knew it. I always knew it. I would say to my exes, I know we're not going to be together. You can't see me. You're just seeing this flesh and blood. You're looking in my eyes and you can't see me. I know we're not going to get far. But when I met my husband, he could see me immediately. That was my first experience with him. Oh gosh, I felt naked. He could see me, right? And I was 14 years old. I didn't meet him until I was 37 again. But we remembered each other, right? How does the person you're with help you to remember who you are? I resolved my issues with my exes, really resolved them, like it's really done. There's no ashes, it's dissolved. When I realized they were also helping me remember. They were also helping me remember.
Yeah.
By not staying in those relationships, it's because I remembered, wait, I deserve better than this.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. I understand what you're saying and doing. I had this one ex, and we were together for 8 years, and he never told me that I was beautiful.
Wow.
For 8 years. One day, I was brushing my teeth, and my eyes were like, popping out, and they're watering. He goes, "Oh, you have captivating eyes. Your eyes are really captivating." That was the max. Okay, that was like 2 years into the relationship. The thing is, I don't need someone to compliment me, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the relationship, I brought it up because I really realized, wait, that hurt. You never told me that I was beautiful. You never complimented me, you never anything. He said, I didn't want to swell your head. And you needed to be able to not need a compliment to understand that you were beautiful. Now, say what you will about that. But the fact of the matter is that I thought I was. Then when I got with him, my confidence took a plunge because he would never compliment me. But in there, I had to pick myself up and be like, are you really going to not think anything of yourself because he doesn't compliment you? You think you're not? Are you really, you're not going to wear that outfit because he said it wasn't nice? Are you really not? You get what I'm saying? I had to actually build back from scratch. Okay. If you think you're beautiful, why? Is it because of your hair? What if you had no hair? What if it's, I had to go through this whole thing until I myself didn't think I was beautiful because of the outside, but because of my inside. Do you understand what I'm saying? So even in our past relationships, whether they work or don't work out, everything, there's an opportunity to realize that person was teaching you something about yourself. That person, whether they were aware of it or not, it was a chance for you to remember who you are. Every relationship is a chance for you to remember you, who you actually truly are, to see your actual worth. Every single, so right now, whether you're, I had a bad childhood, or I this, or I'm with a person, not with a person, you could think back and say, how did this person help me to remember who I am? Because when you start remembering who you are going to start making different choices. You are going to start desiring different things. Like Janie said, you're going to start restructuring the order of your life. And the next most important thing is that you can't be going into your divine counterpart relationship with a whole bunch of crap from your past relationships. You can't be carrying these people into your new relationship. You gotta, so resolve those things. I'm saying, figure out, how did they help me see me? How did they help me remember who I am? And they could have helped you remember to a place where you left. You're no longer there. Maybe they were trying to help you remember something and you didn't want to see it and you're angry, but now you could realize, wow, they were right about that. But you have to bring that closure there. Let it be in the past so that you could step into your divine counterpart if you are not already with them. Right? And keep remembering. The more you remember, the more they have the permission to return in fullness to be who they are to be in your life. You keep remembering, they keep showing up. You keep remembering, they keep showing up. Is this beautiful dance. The more you remember, the more they meet you right where you are. That's what I've experienced, right? Just keep remembering, the deeper you go, they're going to be there with you. The higher you go, they're climbing it with you. He will keep returning. That's so beautiful. And I look forward to seeing that just manifest all over this earth. Like my brother said, heaven on earth. That's what we're dealing with. Heaven on earth.
And it really, like, I mean, because we create our reality, and you really can experience heaven on earth like every day. Like every day. You really could, you could live there. And I know people think that that's just non-existent. Not saying that, you know, challenges don't come, but even in the challenges, you're still in gratitude in the challenge. You're still in joy, you're still in peace.
Exactly.
Stay there. And that's how we hold the vibration. The more couples, the more families, the more people that stay in that heaven on earth, we raise up the entire vibration of the planet.
I agree. I agree. I often say to my hubby, before meeting you, I really, really, really believed in a heaven outside of here. And now that I've experienced our love, I didn't know this love was capable to be experienced on earth. I didn't know it could, I didn't know that this could be here. Like on earth, you could feel this. While you're on earth, you could feel this.
The whole part of Christ consciousness. That's the whole part of enlightenment, is that we experience the divine in this body on earth. Now we don't have to
on earth.
We don't have to die.
Now.
No, we
have
right here. And that is, I think, one of the blinders of, you know, people too. But no, like it's so available right now. It's so available.
Right here.
Yeah.
The only thing that would make this more heaven on earth is more people
Exactly. That
That's
would
really
be it. And you know, we pray all the time and we hope and we send love and healing on the earth all the time that people every day can awaken to who they are, you know, and that people could experience this because suffering is a human thing. We don't have to suffer.
don't have to
And we
suffer.
suffer because we are not in remembrance. We have forgotten. We're in, but the veil is still over the eyes, you know?
It's the belief that we're disconnected from the universal prime creator.
Yeah.
But once we remember that we are connected, that it's internal, and that nobody's coming to save you but you.
That's it.
You've been
Remember
gifted
who you
with
are.
everything. Exactly. Remember.
You are.
We're it.
That's it. Now, on that note, I would like to thank Kesley and Duane, Russell and Janie. This was I feel so full. I feel like I had breakfast, lunch, dinner, desserts, everything, snacks, all in between. You know, this was amazing. I love you guys so much. Thank you for being here. I'm gonna say I love having Russell and Duane on. I just love it. I don't know. I love people. I love the
It's a
communication.
good balance.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah. So I'm leaving it out there for you guys. You know, this is episode 5. We have episode 6 and 7, right? Episode 6 and 7, 2 more episodes, and then that's it. So you know, I'm looking forward to seeing you guys again. I know for sure, Kesley and Janie, maybe if you guys want to hop on next Sunday, that's fine with me. And we will open up our episode 7. It's just going to be whoever wants to come on, and we're just going to close it up with some final sharings, questions, anything we want to touch back on, right? So if you're watching and you want to hop on to our big collaboration for our last episode, just send us an email at lovestoryforyandea@gmail.com, and I will get you the information, the link, and you can join us. So thank you again, everyone who's watching. And, you know, thank you for liking and subscribing and sharing and all the good things that you do. We love you. Remember who you are. Remember your worth, and let the divine masculine return. See you guys next Sunday at 7:30. Bye-bye.
Peace.